Hey, everybody. Welcome back if you're returning. Welcome if you're new here, and thank you so much for joining me today. Happy Monday. I hope your week is off to an amazing start. We're going to be using the Wisdom of the Oracle by Colette Baron Reed to get our topic for today. Let's see what we've got. Well, I accidentally grabbed two, but the one on top was Never Ending Story. And it's actually a very beautiful card because the never ending story, to me, when you look at it, she seems very weary and worn. She's sitting on top of an hourglass. And I think it's like the never ending story is when we keep doing the same dumb shit over and over again, the repeating behavior patterns. And we've talked about this frequently. That's one of the things about this channel. I'm very much about being in your personal power, being in your full authenticity, because we repeat the negative behaviors out of old belief systems, old beliefs about ourselves, old emotional wounds that we haven't healed that drive our behavior from our subconscious mind. So we keep sabotaging our success, we keep sabotaging our relationships. We don't know why. We can't make it work. We keep thinking, like, well, next time, it'll be different. Not if you're not different, because the one thing in each situation that is the same, the one variable that isn't changing is you. So if every situation ends up a certain way, it can't always be the other person. So if you're having difficulty with relationships, what behaviors are you exhibiting that are creating the same results regardless of the situation? Money is another thing. Many of us we were given poor beliefs about money. And now we believe that you have to struggle to earn money. Money is hard to come by. Money is hard to keep. All of these things that we heard in our environment and so many times because by default, the price of rent, the cost of living in certain areas, you are grouped by your socioeconomic status, meaning that if you don't make very much money, you live around a bunch of other people who don't make very much money. If you make a lot of money, you're able to live around other people who make a lot of money. These two groups are going to have very different beliefs about the ability to create wealth. And their perspective, viewpoint, or belief about money is going to be very different. So, and then there's the people that are somewhere in the middle, you know, and their beliefs may be better than here, but not as good as here. And you can tell a lot about someone's belief system from the way they use their money. Money is an energy, it's a resource, it's a tool. But when you get emotionally charged about money, you block yourself from receiving it. If you get emotionally charged about love and relationships, you block yourself from having what you want. And this is where the never ending story comes in because no matter what you do, you keep ending up with the same outcome. And what we have to consider in these situations is why. What am I doing that's driving this outcome? So let's say it's relationship and man, woman, whatever. If you have experienced trauma in love relationships, you're going to react differently to things. You're going to be afraid of love. Well, the thing that made you feel bad wasn't love. There are so many dynamics in relationships that are based on our attachment patterns, that are based on our belief systems, what was modeled to us as love as children growing up. We had conditional love in our perception from our parents because their love was very much behavior based. We felt unloved because we were punished when we didn't do what they wanted. And a lot of times that leads us to push certain aspects of ourselves down that were considered unacceptable as children. However, so many times those things that as children made it hard to parent us are our greatest strengths. So we've gone through our entire adult life suppressing the best parts of ourselves because as children we were taught that we are unlovable if we act like that. That part of you that you suppressed is crying out for your attention. You're not being authentic when you aren't being fully you. And so if you look back and think about where you silenced yourself, where you changed your behavior, where you learned to kind of mold into the background of wherever you were at, that's not authenticity. And until you are your whole complete self and you have gone into that shadow side, we talked about it a little bit last week, Carl Jung, the psychologist, and he studied the shadow side and how it affects your relationships, your money, your view of self, and coming into the integration of that shadow side and your ego and a balance in between them. Once we are able to combine the anima, which is the feminine energy, and the animus, the male energy, along with those repressed aspects, into our whole being, we operate from a completely different space. Your energetic presence is completely different. And it's going through all of this stuff that you have inside you that you pushed back because that childhood memory of, you were just being a kid and you were having fun and you got in trouble for it. And so you took that playful, boisterous part of you and you kind of tucked it away. That way you got the love back from your parents in your perception. Because our parents loved us regardless, but it was their job to discipline us and teach us how to act in certain situations. And again, that doesn't mean that you have to shrink yourself in different situations. There are societal expectations of how you should act, and you should immediately disregard all of those because they're usually stuffy and boring. And who wants to lead a stuffy, boring life? No wonder she looks so miserable, right? Right? Or situations where you feel like you need to shrink yourself to conform, just don't do those. Just don't. Once you are able to get back in touch with your whole, full, authentic self and realize what moments, what parts of you gave up for love, in your mind, you see love as a performance based emotion. And I'm not saying you personally, but in general, because of our childhoods, we perceive love as performance based. So if I act this way, I can be lovable. If I don't act this way, I'm not lovable. Not true. Not true at all. You shouldn't have to act anything because at your essence, at your core, you are love. And when you integrate all these parts of yourself into your whole full authenticity, you get what you give. When you operate out of love, you'll find that you attract love because that's what you're giving. Instead of giving ultimatums or manipulation or demands or criticism, uh, gaslighting, you know, if you have to trick someone into being with you, that's not love. You're not in the right place. And you probably need to look at your shadow side because there's a reason you're doing it. You may have had parents who did that. They may have patterned the most unhealthy relationship type for you. And so you grew up believing that was normal. And so now, if you attract a healthy love, it feels dangerous to you. If someone loves you unconditionally, you want to run away because you don't know what's wrong with them. It feels uncomfortable because in your subconscious mind, you associate love with chaos and pain and grief, and none of those things are love. Love is peace and harmony and freedom. When you love from a place of unconditional love in your full authenticity, there are no conditions. You love. And it is a journey to get there because we have to shed so much of what we are not to find out what we really are. And once you reach that place, it's beautiful because regardless of what's going on around you, you maintain that centered, calm presence. And you become a pillar to those around you just because you're not in the chaos, and the chaos cannot get to you. It's happening around you, but it's not happening in you. Love is not chaotic. Love is not painful. Yes, you will still have disagreements in your relationships, but you'll handle them in a completely different way because you're coming from love, not trying to control the outcome, not trying to change the other person, not trying to manipulate things into what you want. You're just being, and you're allowing them to be and appreciating them for what they are rather than expecting them to become something else. And when you have to really mold someone else into something else, that's not your person. We're not Play-Doh, you know. So relationships is one way where that shows up, and then you've got the money scenario, where again, and I got off on a tangent, but the socioeconomic thing, because we develop these beliefs as we view them in our surroundings as children. Because if you lived in a lower socioeconomic neighborhood, you went to school with these people, you worked with these people, these are your people, this is your environment. And because they have struggled with money, and you have seen that what they say is true, because in this environment, money's hard to come by, money's hard to keep, life is expensive, it's stressful, money becomes an enemy. And when you feel that way energetically about money, you block it from coming to you because it's the enemy. And the wealthy people, they're the enemy. You know, how come they get that? Except that if you stop viewing them as the enemy and start looking at them as the mentor or the guide to help you go from believing what you have witnessed here to seeing that this is possible, all you need is to know what they did to get there. Money is not the enemy, it's your mindset. And that's what happens to us so many times. We blame the things around us. We fall back on these old beliefs that just we absorbed into our subconscious mind. And when we really step back and analyze our behavior, it's like, okay, well, I keep doing the same thing and it keeps going to shit. So obviously I need to figure out what to do differently. Go to someone who's successful in the area you desire to be successful in. And I don't mean it has to be a physical person. I mean, get on YouTube and watch videos about what behaviors help you build wealth, what behaviors help you build healthy relationships. It's going to take that inner dig, though. You're going to have to undo what isn't you and shed that. Then adopt the new habit. A belief is just a thought we continue to think. It has become a habit to think that way, and thus we continue to think that way. Our minds are neuroplastic. We can change the way they process information. We can reprogram our neurons. We can make new neural pathways so that if we had a habit of being negative, with effort, time, we can change that to where we have a habit of being positive, which, trust me, is a much easier way to get through life. And I wrote about that in the Get Your Shit Together book. And there's a link for that in the description box below that goes through ways to do these things, new behaviors that we can adopt that will help us achieve the goals that we want. And it goes through diet, food, healthy weight, healthy beliefs about your body, um, getting in your personal power, owning your authenticity, and the steps that you can take to get there in an overall well-being with your finances, your relationships, your relationship to you, because that's where it all starts. So if you're tired of the never-ending story, just remember, every day is a blank page. Close that chapter. Start with a fresh page. What do you want your life to look like, and what's it going to take to get there? Because you have everything you need already to do that. You just need to figure out which little behaviors, which old beliefs, what's going on back here that's messing everything up. So Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this helps, and I will talk to you soon.